Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS. This two-part series was recorded at the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department hangar at the San Bernardino International Airport in California. The conversation unfolds as we talk about the recent acquisition of the new Bell 412 EPX helicopter. Our guests, Sgt Jon Anderson, Deputy Doug Brimmer, and recently retired and now reserve Deputy Pilot Danny Futscher, share their rich backgrounds in law enforcement and aviation, drawing inspiration from family legacies that have shaped their careers. Together, they discuss the process of transitioning to the new helicopter, highlighting its benefits for their mission sets. Doug Brimmer shines light on the department's historical society, emphasizing the importance of preserving law enforcement artifacts that tell the story of their dedicated service. The size and diversity of San Bernardino County comes into focus, revealing how these factors uniquely impact their operations and response strategies. Insights from this conversation highlight their aviation program's logistics, from fueling helicopters to building essential partnerships with other agencies. They share the value of having sworn pilots and the challenges facing the recruitment efforts, all while navigating the varied geographic landscapes and extreme weather conditions of the region. This episode is a captivating blend of adventure, professionalism, and the personal stories that make up the fabric of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Aviation Unit. Thank you to our sponsors, Bell, Technosonic, and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, John Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Shanley.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
Good advising code 4 on the stop.
You brought up something about partnerships with CHP. The three of you guys individually and collectively as a group have done a really good job of building partnerships and friendships with the agencies within the county. That's so important. It's been awesome to see these relationships build under your guys' direction and through the efforts that you guys have put forward. It doesn't happen by accident. You know, I remember going to aviation and you'd reach out and be like, hey, we've got a pursuit that's coming westbound. Are you able to hop up and grab it? Yeah. And we would do that and we could come in here for fuel. Like those relationships are so important. Yeah. Can you talk about kind of from your perspective how you built those and the value that comes with those?
Right. I think an agency our size with the aircraft we have and the job you do, it's easy. It had been easy in the past, maybe for some people to get to the point where they were like, yeah, we can do whatever we don't need the smaller guys, whatever. And I'm not saying that was how it was, but there was a need to try to build into some of the relationships. That's how I felt when I got here. And so you guys, Riverside SO, working together, Fontana, we can't be at one place all the time, right? Like a lot of the smaller stations or even the larger stations don't have an understanding of what our job is. Maybe sometimes the guys and gals that work the ground that are our customers basically for patrol. I equate it to like working in a city. If you're in beat 1 and you're down in beat 6 because you're doing whatever and something massive goes off and you trying to get there is difficult. And that's what we experience with the logistics of working in a county this large. And so having you guys work with us on that kind of stuff, and you guys are, you know, we'll do the same for you and you do the same for us. Nobody's trying to hold on to the ball. It's not to the point where you take a pursuit and we got to try to pry it from your cold, dead fingers. You guys we'll if we can get there, if we're not totally tied up, we'll come, we'll hand it off. We work together very well on handoffs, and it just makes it better for the guys and gals on the ground and therefore the public. And I just like that concept better than maybe how some things have been in the past where it was kind of
territorial.
Just a little less friendly.
Yeah, there's plenty of business for everybody.
For sure.
You know, and you guys are very gracious throughout the county for us to come in and help out with some of that stuff. Because it's fun. You know?
Right. Unless it's a hoist and Doug's work, and then forget about it.
Let's talk about that. I heard the first 2 hoists did not go to you in the 412.
They did not.
You were ready to go.
I was working every day and night. I was waiting for the call. I'm still sad about it.
Who did Doug? Who got them?
I can't remember. Was that you, John?
Oh, yeah.
It was. I
That's
forgot.
right.
Yeah.
I forgot already.
Did you have ice cream for that?
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I
that's
guess
a good point.
I guess I owe ice
He
cream.
does
Probably
owe
two
ice
sets.
cream.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
No, because you can only have first one time. So
Did you have the first, second hoist in the ship? You did.
yeah,
That was the talk of the unit, is who was going to
Yeah.
get the first rescue in the 412.
hmm
So, of course, everybody wants it. I wanted it.
Yeah, of course.
Just didn't happen.
Circling back to what we were just talking about, the partnership thing, I think it's important to drive the point home because of the value that comes with those relationships. Cable Airport, where Ontario operates out of, is just below Mount Baldy, and you guys are in Mount Baldy all the time in the winter, actually year round, on rescues. And you guys would come in and you'd either get fuel from us or you'd go to the fuel pit and get fuel, but you'd always make an effort to get us on Bravo or stop by and say hello. And it just paid dividends.
Heck
You know,
yeah.
I can think of one, and this happened many times, but we had an incident where we needed a part of some sort for maintenance, and weather was really bad, and we couldn't fly out here. We needed the part for something the next day, I think.
Yeah.
But our mechanics needed it that day to get it done. But you guys, when your mechanic lives out in Rancho and drove that part out to us, like that doesn't happen
Right.
by
Yeah.
accident. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that happen when you invest into these partnerships and relationships. So
Yeah. The patrol crew today went down to Hemet Ryan
for
to
RSO.
pick up, to pick up some parts from RSO that are on back order that we won't have for some time, but they were kind enough to lend them to us, and then when we get ours, we'll give them
Pay
back,
'em back.
give them to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So it definitely takes a village. It takes a group of us really to work it the way that it should be worked.
yeah,
Because you can't always have everything you need when you need it.
I think a big part of that is the networking is the fly-ins.
Yeah.
Right. You guys really taking the fly-ins on. Been really cool to see you guys do that. Can you talk about the fly-in that you guys have planned for this year?
Doug,
and,
you want to hit that?
and
Doug's planning is on the planning committee for the fly-in. So
Well, I was actually just going to mention. I was going to say, networking is those fly-ins, those continuous trainings, and inviting everybody.
Yep.
And we're fortunate enough to work in California where there's numerous air units. You know, when I go back east, I'll make it a point to visit air units, and they may be the only one around for, maybe the next state. But we have so many different agencies that we can count on. Ontario covers us. Riverside, they always come in.
CHP.
PD, Sheriff, CHP, Fontana, everybody's just great. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those fly-ins, and not just the safety fly-ins, but maybe events where you invite other air units too. That's great. That's how we keep that networking going.
if I recall, Terry Mauchi is going to be out here this year from Bell, discussing leadership. I've taken his leadership course multiple times. The guy's awesome. I love everything he talks about. It's cool that he'll be out here. So I highly recommend if you guys are in Southern California or can make it out here to get in touch and come to your guys' flying. Again, awesome venue. You do have to get through the surface streets of San Bernardino if you're not flying in, which can be challenging. But if you're flying
Just
in,
because
you're all
of
good.
traffic.
Yeah. But we do have good speakers, right? Each year, Clay Lacey, Jack Shanley, we try to bring out the best speakers, and everybody loves them. So
Yeah, Terry's awesome.
plus we have In and Out this year.
that's right. In and Out's the biggest thing.
Yeah, the In-N-Out food truck is a huge draw. Kudos to you guys for doing that. I think I'll come just for the In-N-Out food truck.
That's a good thing about having good sponsors.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you know the date for that flying off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, no.
September 15?
Yeah. Something like that.
We'll put it
Yeah.
in the show notes. And,
Show notes,
And
yeah.
people that are interested in coming out, get in touch with yourself.
Anyone at the unit, but myself included.
Okay. Yeah, it's awesome. So you guys are doing it. Riverside County Sheriff's doing it. I believe LA County is also doing a fly-in. Pasadena, of course, has been doing a fly-in for quite a long time. It's been cool with Riverside County. You go down there, and they've opened up to the military as well. So you've seen some really cool military aircraft come through there. They had a Viper there last year. A couple of other different helicopters. I don't know if you recall what was there. It was cool.
No, I missed last year's, but we did open up to the California National Guard. So I believe they'll be coming out as well this year.
Right on. Well, going forward to your guys' aviation program, we've talked about the department as a whole and kind of profiled that. Can we talk about your aviation program? How big is the program? How many personnel are assigned here? What are your mission profiles and that kind of thing?
The exact number of people, probably about 24. crew chiefs and pilots, and that includes reserve. We have 4 or 5 reserves.
4 now.
4 now, that's right. Brian Miller just retired. We have patrol function. We staff 3 different patrol shifts a day, 2 here in the Valley, a day shift, night shift. We have a desert shift that's kind of like a swing shift, and they take care of everything from the mountains all the way to the state line border. And then we have the rescue shift every day. So there's 4 shifts total in the helos, and we also have a surveillance shift that's Monday through Friday.
And the helicopter side for patrol, what are they flying and what does their mission equipment look like?
We're flying A-Stars, the H-125s. We have Westcams for the camera, aero computers. I'm drawing a blank. SpectraLab, thank you, for Night Sun. What else? Goodrich Hoist.
Okay.
Even though they're patrol, they do have hoist capability.
Garmin Avionics.
Yeah, Garmin Avionics. Becker mixer box. I'm not sure how detailed you want to get on that stuff.
Yeah. Going to the pilot's career progression,
Mhm.
like you get certified or checked off to fly Daytime Valley. Can you talk about how you progress from there and then ultimately how you end up flying the rescue and fire missions?
So from the day you get here in the unit, you don't start as a pilot, even if you're a certified, pilot, have your commercial, all that stuff. I was already rated when I got here, but I started as a flight officer. So you'll start as a flight officer, you'll go through that progression, you can only fly day shift, and then it takes about 2 years to walk through that progression of being a TFO all the way to a crew chief in the Huey. You start on day shift patrol, then night shift patrol, you get goggle qualified, we train you how to be a hoist rider first, then a hoist operator in the patrol ships. Once you get a little bit of experience, probably a year, closer to a year and a half in, then we'll start transitioning you to the Huey at about the 2-year mark. Then you're a full-fledged flight officer / crew chief. If we have a spot open up on the pilot side, if you have an aptitude and you want to be a pilot, we ask that the candidates put themselves through and get their private. It shows their commitment. You get your private first, and then we'll take you the rest of the way and get you commercial. We have flight instructors in-house. Currently, we have 4 flight instructors in-house, and we'll take you all the way up to the commercial level. Again, once you are flying, it's probably going to take a minimum of, and it's probably longer, but minimum of 2 years to go through that progression. Same thing, you start just day shift here in the Valley. Get some experience doing that. About 6 months in, we'll start working you into night shift, get you goggle trained, then start flying hoist missions, get you trained up on that. Then we send you to the desert, probably a year in. You start getting the experience working desert calls. That's where you get those after-hour hoists in the patrol ship. If we don't need to call a rescue crew in after hours, they can do it in the patrol ship. Then they get some experience there. For the rescue, we don't pull, even if you've got 2, 3, 4 years of flight experience on patrol, we're not going to pull you to rescue unless we have a spot open for rescue. Our rescue is more reactive than proactive flying, so you don't build the experience as quick. Mm-hmm. And right now we have, 5, 6 rescue pilots with Ed coming on board. We have enough rescue pilots that we don't want to spread them too thin where they're not, they're only getting an hour or 2 a month. So we keep that number lower than we would for patrol.
Yeah. Going to the crew chief / TFO spot, you think about how much training is required just to be a TFO. And then you add in the crew chief responsibilities on top of that. That's a lot to learn, and a lot to become comfortable with. Can you talk about how long it takes? I mean, there's a difference between being checked off and feeling comfortable and being proficient. I know it's different for everybody. What are you seeing time-wise for a lot of these folks?
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Dan, you want to answer that? He has the most experience as the flight officer / crew chief here. So,
like you said, everybody's different, but we do push them all through the same training program. So, I mean, for somebody it's just like patrol, right? You work patrol, you got cut off from your training program, and you're like, oh, dude, I know a lot. And then you look back 3, 4, 5 years later, and you're like, I didn't know anything. I didn't really understand what was happening to the degree that you then do. So each person's different, but you're looking for someone to really become competent as a TFO in patrol. You're looking at easily a year and a half, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on their aptitude and the type of calls they're getting and when they're getting them. And that stuff all plays into it as well, right? So the more hot calls they're getting, the more opportunities they have to set up perimeters, the better they're going to get at it. And it's going to happen more rapidly depending on their aptitude. Same thing applies for being a crew chief, right? And it also goes into that side of we're reactive. So once you work your way into working on rescue as a crew chief, you're going to get less frequent calls. You're going to go out and train as much as maintenance will allow us to go do work and work that kind of stuff. But going out there and actually getting real world experience, daytime, nighttime, that takes a long time too. So your crew chiefs, by the time that they're a really competent crew chief, they've probably been in the unit for 5 to 6 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
And maybe been a crew chief half that.
Wow. Well, you jump into the pilot seat, and that's a whole nother game, right? Because talk about the importance of being a sworn pilot. And there's pros and cons to each, the sworn camp and the civilian camp. And I think there are civilian pilots that do an excellent job. And I think a lot of it's aptitude, right? We talked about that. But I think what we're describing highlights the value of being a sworn deputy or a sworn officer and working your way through these different positions. I think of, in the pilot seat, if you don't really understand what it's like to be on the hook, it's probably kind of hard to know how to treat these people,
right?
Yeah.
And can you talk about that a little bit? Because we've talked about it from the TFO side and understanding the tactics, but on the rescue side, that's a whole different story. Can you talk about the importance of that?
I think you heard probably for the first time during a whole hoist mission yesterday, the dialogue we have from the crew chief to the pilot. It's constant. It's symbiotic, right? So having done that job, I know what he's expecting or what he needs, so you can anticipate, and it's safer and smoother that way. When there's confusion and in what he's expecting, that's when you can induce a swing, or you do the wrong movement and that's not what I was expecting. Next thing you know, you got the hook in a bush or whatever it is. So it's very valuable having done that job, knowing what's expected as the pilot. To go back a little bit, not rescue, but an example that we experience about having law enforcement personnel as pilots in our fixed wing program. We currently have our fixed wing pilot. He's a former sheriff deputy from Riverside. He gets the mindset that we have, the law enforcement mission. In the past, we had pilots that were from the civilian world, and they didn't get that mindset. And come 6 o'clock, they're turning the ship around to go home, and it's like, wait, the mission's not done. Mm-hmm. We're supporting our ground units. We can't leave. That's so valuable to have that mindset and know what's expected of the mission.
Right. Within the safety parameters, right? You're not pushing people to fly beyond the amount of hours they should be flying, the 7 hours they should be doing in a shift. Not should be, but that you are allotted, that you can do without getting approval to go beyond that. So safety-wise, staying within that lane, but then also go on that extra mile because you've been there and experienced the need from the ground.
Right. I know a lot of the challenges that agencies are facing stem from recruitment, and that's a whole nother topic, But are you guys seeing, recruitment-wise, success filling the patrol ranks or the early ranks that allows you guys to pull from those, or is your agency like everyone else having a hard time?
We're like everybody else right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
That is tough.
I've asked a lot of people, if they have any angles on recruiting, and it's just it's tough. have you guys seen anything that's been effective for recruitment? I know with your experience in Explorers, you probably see a lot of these younger folks coming through. Are you seeing anything unique that's, whether it's your agency or someone else, that's been effective with recruitment?
Well, I think that just the Explorer program itself, that's huge. And out of, let's say I had 10 or 15 Explorers, probably half of those will become deputies. The others typically go to the military or something like that. But the Explorer program is huge. And that's probably why almost every agency has one. But for recruitment, Explorers. For aviation, just going out and doing static displays at events, air shows, whatever the case, and talking to people, that's a huge deal too.
Yeah, I think when you see air crews that go to the shows, most of them are out there friendly and want to talk, but every once in a while I see an air crew is like, they got their phone in front of their face and they don't want to be there. And that's such a negative thing for our industry to see that happen. So please, if you're sending folks out to these shows, make sure it's someone who wants to be there, because otherwise I think you're turning folks off. You know, talk about those early interactions.
And I think the department, if I'm not mistaken, has kind of partnered up in some aspects with the military to try to help guys and gals that are coming out of the military and trying to get into civilian life look at law enforcement as a step or a potential step. So I'm not sure how successful that's been, but that's my recollection, is that they were working into that lane.
Yeah. For recruitment for aviation, do you guys do anything specific to draw folks to apply for aviation, or is it all itself within your department?
It's all within the department. We have put out some flyers within the department saying, hey, we have some spots open up. If you have an interest, put your name on the list, come meet us, etc. So far, we've, we're still same challenges every unit has. Every unit within the department is running short. So we're doing the best we can. You might have a deputy out there that had military experience. He just got hired on. He's a pilot. But if we brought him over right now without getting that patrol experience, we're losing that valuable experience that we just talked about. Yep. So we're trying to kind of bide our time until that person's ready, and then talk to him about coming over. Yeah.
Well, last thing I want to do is kind of talk about some of the impactful things you guys have been a part of, whether it's in aviation or, in investigative assignments or somewhere else within your career. Futscher, we'll go to you, because you were looking away from me. So I figured you wanted to talk first.
No, I didn't want to talk first. I was looking at you I was like, go to Doug, go to John.
But I mean, we get to see a ton of stuff in aviation, and then the career paths that led us to these places. You talked about all the different places you worked, and I saw a lot of different stuff. Of all the investigations you're a part of, or incidents, is there one that kind of sticks out that was most impactful for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. When it comes to in the aviation unit itself, we had a rescue up on San Bernardino several years back, and now, being able to be involved in something where legitimately you can say, if we as a crew, a pilot, myself, the medics, weren't able to intervene and get this machine into the position, when the pilot just doing a terrific job getting us in there so that we could rescue these people, they would have surely died. Even though ground pounders are on their way to get them, just they were so far behind the 8-ball based on when this person could make a phone call, all those little components, that they were going to die. And so being able to be a part of something like that, where that you made a difference, and it's real time, you see it in real time, which you don't see as much when you're working on the law enforcement side, not necessarily patrol in the air unit, but up patrol on the ground. You don't always see it that quickly. So those kind of things they're amazing, and you're thankful for them.
Yeah, I bet. Before we go on to you, John, I forgot to bring up or talk about the fire mission that you guys are a part of on our flight today, and I was in the A-Star with you, and watching you guys drop water was pretty awesome. Can you talk about that mission and how you guys support the fire personnel on the ground?
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications.
Well, it's one of the most fun things to do, first of all. It's like almost playing a video game. You're like, okay, 3, 2, 1, drop. And then you turn and look, yes, white smoke, got it. Right. So most of the time we're initial attack. We will self-dispatch if, the mountains, this is our home, right? And we're going to see something before we get dispatched to it most of the time. So if we see it, we'll start heading that way. And we'll start getting to work. We have Bambi buckets, simplex tanks. We can do tanks or buckets for the Hueys, and for the patrol ships, we have bucket capability also. So depending on how many pilots we have here, we can really throw a lot at it. We have a call when needed contract with CAL FIRE. So if they need a move up or if they need us on a campaign fire that's local, we try to stay within our county or surrounding counties. We just don't have the personnel to really send something, up to Northern California, for example. But we'll participate in those campaign fires as well. We've been doing that mission. Doug, I don't know, you probably have the dates better than I do, but we've been doing that mission for a long time. We used to have a contract with CAL FIRE that we were a dedicated ship out in Chino at the Prado facility. But since we've moved to just a call when needed contract, and that's working out pretty well for us.
As we sit in front of the 412, there's currently nothing on it as far as there's no Bambi bucket, there's no tank. If you were to get deployed or requested for a fire, how quickly could that safely be put on to where you could respond and start using it?
It takes mechanics 30 to 40 minutes to put the tank on. Okay. And we can be good rolling at that time.
That's typically left off unless you guys are requesting on a fire.
Well, again, this is new. This is a new ship to us. The goal is when we get our second one, we're going to have one ship. As long as we have 2 ships available, we're going to have one with a tank on, one without. The thought process is, yes, it's a powerful ship, but you throw a tank on, it limits your VNE. I believe that this ship is 111 now. It used to be 102 in the Hueys. But it limits your VNE, so now if we have a call that's way out in the deep desert, we're getting there slower. It also adds, 400, 500 pounds of payload, that if you're operating up at altitude with temperatures, that's going to decrease your performance. So the idea would be have a fire ship ready to go, whether it's the Huey or whether it's one of the 412s or the 212. And then the other one available for the hoist mission.
That's cool. Today, we choreographed and orchestrated a photo and a video to challenge Lloyd and Tony Weber's photo and video they did.
There's a video out there?
There is a video.
I haven't seen it.
There is a video.
I haven't seen that.
So can you talk about orchestrating that and kind of what we did? Because it was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I think Tony definitely hit a mark that we tried to achieve today. So, we set it up, got to the Super Huey and the 412 together, and tried to orchestrate a simultaneous water drop over actual burned out area. So maybe we got them on that.
Yeah, Lloyd and Tony did a great job then at San County. That was an awesome shot.
We did a reenactment at best.
But man, it was pretty good. It was cool to see firsthand the synchronization. It was cool to see all 3 fly together. It's very obvious you guys are comfortable flying together in formation. You guys have done that a lot. That's another part of the missions that we had talked about is all the formation flights that you guys are a part of and how you honor law enforcement officers
with
through those.
All the local agencies around here, including Ontario, California Highway Patrol, and Riverside. Right. Have all participated. Yeah. Too many, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right. One thing that unfortunately will never stop as much as we want it to. It's awesome that you guys honor those folks in that way and you continue to train. But that training was evident today, seeing the 3 of you guys fly together and communicate. You guys were very comfortable and very professional in your guys' interaction with each other. So kudos to you guys.
It was our pleasure.
So going back to
I think you got me. I think we're on to Doug right now. All right.
I got you. Again, something that's either funny or impactful.
I'll give you both. Okay. I'll give you both.
All right, let's hear it.
So, funny just for working as a cop in general, right? before I went out to patrol in the jails, you always heard, these guys say, "Oh, these aren't my pants. These aren't my pants."
Yeah.
And then you get out there and you're like, "These aren't my pants." You're like, it happens. It's real. It's a real thing. It's like the desk pop, right?
Yeah.
It's a real thing, right? So I don't know. So that was funny. But what Futscher said, I 110% agree. Like, I love patrol. I love getting in pursuits. That's great. It's fun from the air. Nothing like rescue. You have such an immediate impact on somebody right now today, and it just gets to you.
Yeah.
So I had a call that little girl, 5-6 years old, riding a quad, a little mini quad, that had a kill switch on it, and she got on. Dad put her on it in this a Big Bear northeast of that riding area, and she took off, and he was picking up the son to put him on his. Before he could get to the kill switch, she got out of range, around the corner and gone. And this is, I can't remember what month, but it was winter. It's snow on the ground, and it was freezing temperatures overnight. And everybody swore that that she was going to be over, northwest of where she was last. And Dave Carney was with me, and we're like, okay, we searched that area, and then let's go down this little trail. And we start following it, and we went 3, 4, 5 miles. And there's a quad. It's overturned. So we land, and she's not there, but we see footprints. So sun's setting. I don't think we had nods. Can't remember if I had nods then. If I was not, but anyways, MVGs. But we found her, right before the sunset and all that. And she was about my daughter's age at the time, so that just gotcha. Yeah.
I always felt like the hardest calls that we went on were the ones that were most identifiable to your own personal life, right?
Yeah.
There's a kid that's your kid's same age or whatever the same makeup is, right? Those were always super challenging.
But like Fuchs, there's a ton of them, but that one kind of sticks in the head just because it was personal to me.
Yeah. How cool is that to return her to the family?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when she saw us, she just started jumping up. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, law enforcement, there's not a lot of positivity that surrounds what we do a lot of times. So anytime that you can do something like that, man, that's awesome. That's something you'll remember forever.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's
it
cool.
happened a long time ago. I mean, it was like 12, 13 years ago. So, yeah.
Doug, again, I know you've seen a lot and done a lot in your career, and you probably have a ton of stories to tell.
And you went last, so this better be good.
Bell Training Academy proudly supports Vertical HeliCASTS. Experience hands-on technical training with dedicated maintenance aircraft to keep your skills sharp and your Bell aircraft operating at peak performance. Register for a technical course by September 30th and get $100 to Bell's gift shop. Visit bell.co/training.
Well, you said memorable or funny. I think I give you one of each. Memorable was Mount Baldy. And this one lady, she was hiking winter time, and it was ice. She slid down, I want to say, 500 feet. She smacked into a couple trees, broke her neck, bleeding from her head. So we went up there, and it was windy, gusty. I think I tried 8 to 10 times, get into pocket, do a hoist, couldn't do it. So I remember going around the side a little bit, and there was just one spot, just one sweet spot that I could just hold a nice steady hover. So we lowered down the medics. Hey, you're going to have to hike and package her up and then hike her back to our spot. There's nowhere else I can get you. And thankfully, we were able to complete the hoist. But to this day, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And she sends a card every year. She sent pictures and how her neck was broke and everything, and how thankful she was, that we saved her life and everything. So that was impactful for sure.
Do you guys get patients that come by and thank you guys?
Every once in a while, yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then a funny one, which I'll never forget, I don't know why it sticks in my head, is we were transitioning from Rialto Airport. Rialto Airport was closing down. We were in a temporary facility here at San Bernardino Airport at the EPX or FedEx building. And we had every patrol ship was down for maintenance. I think we're in the transitional phase. We're getting new mechanics or something. We were short-staffed somehow, and we didn't have any A-stars available. So the sergeant says, "Hey, we don't have anything to fly right now. I remember Al, our sergeant, he was saying, if you guys want to go up get the desert ship, that's the only one available. And then I thought in my head, wait a minute, we still have a 500E sitting in the hangar. And I said, hey, Sarge, can we go 10-8 on patrol in the 500? And he's like, I don't see why not. So I said, awesome. I'm so stoked because that's my favorite helicopter, right? And I look over at my flight officer, and he had like the 1,000-yard stare at me, right?
No
Because there's
map.
no mission equipment on there. There's no map. There's no light.
Nope,
It had
I'm
a
not
radio.
going.
It had a
I
radio.
don't feel good, sir.
But
I'm heading home.
It didn't occur to me. I'm so excited. He's not, but I'm like, we got to fly this helicopter. Are you kidding me? Why not? And he told me, you know, I said, why do you look like you want to choke me out right now? He says, because I got to read a Thomas guide. And so we went on patrol. We handled a couple calls in San Bernardino and Highland. And the funniest, I just remember him, and he was finding our addresses in the Thomas guide, but it was a hot summer day, so we had doors off, and his pages were just ripping out. You know, he couldn't keep the page to save his life, but it was fun for me at least.
I don't think he has the same story.
No.
He's probably cursing your name still.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, to back Dan up on his story about if you Google on YouTube,
No, you
frozen
don't. No,
on the
you
mountain.
don't. I don't think you'd Google that at all.
Frozen on the
I
mountain.
think it's been removed.
Yes.
That's right.
He has an
Yes.
actor that played
Yes.
him.
Oh,
That's-
There's a portrayal.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
who's the actor?
Not Brad Pitt. This so yeah. This
was
would be
it
one of the things.
Dateline?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
Dateline
I don't know.
NBC.
No,
That's right.
I don't know. Definitely wasn't Dateline.
Well, man, it's been awesome being here with you guys. I guess the very last thing I want to touch on, when we talked about our flights, I kind of wanted to highlight the different geographic areas that you guys fly in, because you talked about flying in the valley, then you go up to the mountains, you know, extreme change in temperature. I mean, yesterday it was burning hot, and we go to the Big Bear, and it's pleasant, you know, and then you go back down to the backside, and it's burning hot again, you know. So I just want to touch on that a little bit, because it's plays a big part in your guys' response, and also the types of calls you're getting. You know, a lot of heat related injuries, a lot of cold weather related injuries as well. So kind of extremes on both sides. Can you talk about how that impacts you guys from a search and rescue standpoint, and then also from just a regular law enforcement, like TFO service standpoint?
Well, I was just going to say, that's what I like about our unit. You know, so many different things to do. You don't know if you're going to have a call in the valley, in the high desert, in the mountains. You could have a drowning 1 minute at Lake Silverwood, and then you can get a call up in the mountains of an injured hiker. So definitely we get a variety of calls I think are good for us,
Yeah.
you know, to train in those different conditions.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We train a lot in every type of condition we have. So
I think it took us about 10 minutes to launch from here, get out of the valley, over the mountains, and into the desert. It's crazy how close all those different areas are.
They don't
Yeah,
seem close.
it's going to be an hour to drive it.
Yeah. They definitely don't seem close when you're trying to get to something
Right.
major where you know time is a factor. You always feel like you got a headwind. It's always slow.
Yeah.
But it is faster than driving.
Yeah.
For sure. And
Yeah.
it's I agree with Doug that it's a very unique place to work as far as those aspects of it, and we're very blessed to be able to do it.
How does that impact your flight planning from day to day? I mean, I know you're checking weather at multiple different locations, but what does it look like?
So, like our typical, we come in, we do our weather checks, and we're doing a frat now. You know, we're kind of lazy in the past, but we're trying to get more standardized. So we do our risk analysis, and we base it on worst case. You know, okay, hottest, highest location that we're going to. What can be our fuel load based on that, and then barring any significant changes in weather or equipment or personnel on the ship, then you should know if you're going to be good or not.
Yeah, you set up a good baseline for the
Yeah,
day.
set a good baseline. Our fuel, we know where, we talked about fuel planning earlier, so that's a huge part of any mission. It's like, I think first thing that pops through somebody's head if it's out in the desert region, all right, fuel, where am I going? Okay, I'm going here. This is my plan. Okay, maybe we were told the call's like right off the 40. Well, is it closer to Baker? Is it closer to Morongo? Or is it closer to Havasu, or Needle? So, I mean, that's probably the first thing we work out in our head is where the call is and then where are we going for fuel afterwards. And then the rest kind of just falls into place after that.
Havasu is an interesting place. I know you're just out there for the 4th of July. You talk about operating out there and maybe just even talk about Havasu a little bit for folks that don't know what it is.
So Lake Havasu, half of the lake is California side, the other half is Arizona. So we work with Lake Havasu PD, Mojave County Sheriff, and the fire departments out there as well. Our department is really big on, there's a boating and waterways grant. And actually they were just bringing up in briefing how they've been number one in excelling as far as keeping the boating and waterways safe during those holiday seasons, So we get a lot of calls of drownings, prop strikes, boat accidents, even search and rescues out there. They will request a helicopter from us to be dedicated out there for that holiday weekend. So we'll go out there this last 4th of July. I think the hottest temperature was like 122 out there. So
Jeez.
But we were taken care of too at the same time. We landed at Lake Havasu Airport and the air center there, Havasu Air. They took really good care of us. They even gave us their industrial air conditioning units, hooked us up, put us in the shade. So, it was nice. It wasn't as bad as you would think.
Yeah, I just think it's a unique environment to operate in. It's not many places you go, and it's at 122 degrees.
Yeah. Well, this whole week, not just there, but here, even Apple Valley, we've had to be very mindful of the heat and operating limits.
Yeah.
Because you forget, that those change with, density, altitude.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know who decided to come visit you guys in July, but I think we'd have a talk with whoever that was.
Oops.
Yeah. But no, honestly, it was so awesome coming to visit you guys. Thanks for opening the doors and letting us in.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Really impressive operation you guys have here. I'm very jealous of all the stuff you guys do. It's really awesome, and to see the level of which you guys operate, the professionalism, and everything else you guys bring to the table. Just really impressed. So again, thank you guys, and we'll have to go get I'd say beer, but looking at you guys, it's like root beer. We'll get a root beer sometime soon.
Oh, wonderful. And all that stuff that we do that you think is just kind of ingrained into us as far as our CRM and that stuff, that all was taught to us by people. And so we owe all the stuff all the way back to Doug's dad and beyond that have structured this place in such a way that we're trained the way we are.
And we've had a department, a sheriff, an executive staff, captains that have supported us and have been advocates for the aviation unit and has seen the importance of it.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with their vision for your guys' program. There is a huge need, and I think the service you provide for the citizens would not be anywhere close to where it is if you didn't have these aviation assets. So kudos to them for their vision for that and the support of these programs. I was going to say that I think you're the first person I heard talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. And I've heard multiple people talk about it since.
I stole that from a giant that said it one time.
But it's absolutely true. We just keep building these programs like you guys are doing. And so thanks again for letting us in, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You're a good man.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications. Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Bell Training Academy proudly supports Vertical HeliCASTS. Experience hands-on technical training with dedicated maintenance aircraft to keep your skills sharp and your Bell aircraft operating at peak performance. Register for a technical course by September 30th and get $100 to Bell's gift shop. Visit bell.co/training. As we conclude this engaging episode, it's clear that selecting the right aircraft for mission sets is crucial for the success and safety of any aviation operation. Insights from this conversation underscore how the new Bell 412 EPX helicopter enhances SBSO's capabilities, allowing for more efficient responses and effective service to the diverse communities of San Bernardino County. Choosing the right equipment is only part of the equation. Ongoing training is equally essential to ensure that pilots and crews maximize the potential of their aircraft. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department has consistently demonstrated a steadfast commitment to the importance of training by bringing in outside training companies and by focusing on their own internal training. They recognize that ongoing education and skill refinement are critical in enhancing their operational effectiveness. By prioritizing rigorous training programs, they ensure that their personnel are well prepared to adapt to evolving challenges and utilizing new equipment to its fullest potential. This dedication not only increases the safety and efficiency of their teams, but also reinforces their obligation to serve the diverse communities of San Bernardino County with the highest standards of professionalism and excellence.
Time to close up the hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS.